Imagine standing under a cloudless outback sky, crickets chirping, a gentle breeze carrying the scent of spinifex. Suddenly, without warning, a brilliant light streaks across the heavens, followed by a deafening blast. It's as if the universe itself has torn open and hurled a molten heart straight at the desert. An old stockman once described that moment in a hushed voice. The ground shook, a wall of heat swept past, and when the dust settled, there was a smoking crater where nothing existed before. Elders called it the day the sky fell. Scientists call it a meteor impact. If you're curious how ancient Australians remembered such cataclysms, stay right here. We'll explore stories of fire devils, falling stars, and cosmic babies, and show how myth and geology weave together. And don't forget, if this kind of content fascinates you, smash the like button now so more people can join us on this journey. Before telescopes and podcasts, knowledge in Australia was woven into songlines, oral maps linking places, plants, animals and stars. For tens of thousands of years, First Nations people passed down stories about how the world came to be, when to plant and where to find water. Among these cultural archives are startling tales of the sky itself coming down, of a blazing fire running from the sun, of an evening star that fell to earth and dug a giant hole, of a baby in a wooden dish dropping from the Milky Way. These narratives were long dismissed by settlers as folklore, yet modern geologists and astronomers now realize they may preserve memories of real cosmic events. Meteor impacts, eclipses and explosions visible in daylight. Over the next 15 minutes, we'll walk through 4 of these stories, each paired with scientific evidence. We'll hear how the Henbury craters sparked the legend of a fire devil, how nights of dust and smoke lingered after a celestial strike, how the Wolfe Creek crater became Tnorala, home of rainbow serpents and falling stars, and how the ringed mountains of Tnorala embody a baby's cradle dropped from the sky. Along the way, we'll share personal accounts from explorers, elders and scientists, using analogies and loops to keep you hooked. At the heart of Australia's red centre lies a cluster of 12 small craters, known collectively as the Henbury Meteorite Conservation Reserve. About 4,700 years ago, a mass of iron rock broke apart in the atmosphere and slammed into the desert floor, creating a field of pockmarks up to 180 meters across. Long before European scientists visited, local Luritja people had their own explanation. In 1931, prospector James M. Mitchell traveled to Henbury with an Aboriginal guide. When Mitchell tried to approach the craters, the guide refused. He warned that a fire devil had run down from the sun and killed everything there. He said his grandfather witnessed the fiery thing come from the sky. It burned men, women, and children for breaking sacred law. Nobody camped near the craters or drank rainwater from them because the fire devil would fill them with iron. To modern ears, that detail about iron is uncanny. The Henbury fragments are high in nickel and iron, and water in the craters can leach metal. Geologists dated the impact to roughly 4,700 years ago. This means the story could be one of the oldest continuous eyewitness accounts on Earth. Imagine the shock. A bright streak, thunder without clouds, flaming debris raining down. A drover recounting the story might compare it to an angry god hurling spears, the molten fragments burning like coals on the red sand. That fear kept people away and may have prevented heavy metal poisoning. Today, visitors see a moonscape of craters surrounded by mulga scrub, a physical reminder that a cosmic rock once turned day into fire. The story of the fire devil isn't just myth. It's a mnemonic that warns, remembers and explains a real event. When a sizable meteor strikes, the consequences are more than a hole in the ground. Dust, ash and sulfur can shoot into the atmosphere, block sunlight and alter climate. After the Chicxulub impact 66 million years ago, debris filled the sky, ignited wildfires and plunged the planet into darkness for months, perhaps years. Indigenous Australian stories hint at similar, though smaller, episodes. Some Kaurna elders speak of a time when the moon hid behind smoke for many seasons. In Wiradjuri lore, there are tales of endless night and a cold wind following a starfall. A modern analogy might be the weeks after a volcanic eruption, when sunsets turn blood red and ash settles on cars hundreds of kilometers away. Researchers have studied tree rings and ice cores to see if cooling events correspond with meteor impacts. Though the evidence is sparse, it's plausible that a mid-Holocene impact like Henbury could have thrown enough dust into regional skies to darken the sun for days. Personal diaries from early explorers mention strange weather following meteor events, livestock refusing to graze, daytime birds roosting at noon. Such phenomena would have terrified ancient observers. Picture sitting by a campfire, hearing elders sing of nights so long that children thought the sun had died, then seeing smoke-choked skies after a fiery object fell. Whether these stories record actual climate effects or blend multiple disasters, they emphasize how deeply people watched the sky and wove environmental memory into narrative. They also serve a loop. We start to understand the fear of darkness, and soon we'll see how that same fear links to another crater. Far to the north, near the edge of the Tnorala Desert, lies an almost perfect circular scar, nearly a kilometer wide. Wolfe Creek crater, or Tnorala. From above it looks like a giant eye staring up at space. Western scientists discovered it from the air in 1947, but Jaru people had named and storied it for generations. One story speaks of two rainbow snakes that carved local creeks. One snake emerged from the ground, pushing up rocks and forming the crater's rim. Another, recorded by Elder Jack Juggery in 1999, tells how the crescent moon and the evening star came too close. The evening star grew hot and fell to earth, hitting with a colossal explosion that shook the land, sent up a flash and a dust cloud, and created a big circular hole. People were afraid to go near it at first, but eventually realized this was where the evening star had struck. The physical detail, the flash, the dust, the circular hole, matches what a meteor impact would look like. Geologists estimate Wolfe Creek crater is about 120,000 years old, much older than human presence in Australia. So perhaps the falling star story refers to a different event, maybe a bright fireball observed more recently. Or maybe the crater's dramatic shape inspired a story about a celestial mishap. Either way, Tnorala is a powerful illustration of how place and story intertwine. When visitors stand on the rim, they see spinifex and acacia growing in the basin, hear the wind whistle over ancient rocks, and remember that this was once molten rock ploughing into earth. They also encounter Jaru artists painting the crater as concentric circles with lines radiating out, representing shockwaves, a visual parallel between art and physics. The loop here is between sky and land. A star falls, a crater forms, a story keeps it alive. Some 160 kilometers west of Alice Springs lies Tnorala, a ring of mountains 5 kilometers across and 150 meters high. To the Western Arrernte people, Tnorala's formation is told through the story of a baby in a kulamon, a wooden cradle, that fell from the Milky Way. According to Elder Mavis Malbunka, a group of star women were dancing in the sky. One placed her baby in a kulamon on the edge of the Milky Way. As she danced, the cradle rocked, slipped and plummeted towards Earth. When it hit the ground, the impact forced rocks upward, forming the circular mountain range we see today. The baby's parents became the morning and evening stars. They still search the night sky for their lost child. The kulamon itself is seen as the constellation Corona Australis. Scientists recognize Tnorala as the eroded central uplift of a complex crater formed around 142 million years ago by a comet or asteroid. While the ages differ, the cultural story captures the essence of a cosmic object falling and leaving a circular ring. The imagery of a mother dancing in the Milky Way and her child tumbling to earth is both poetic and instructive. A kulamon is used by women to carry babies and food. By placing it in the story, the arrente connect a familiar object to an unfamiliar event. Visitors to Tnorala today feel a sense of sacredness. The landscape invites quiet reflection. Interpretive signs explain both the dreaming narrative and the scientific explanation, and elders remind tourists to respect the site and not climb the rim. The lesson: the land is alive with stories. And those stories are not just entertainment. They carry lore, memory, and identity. The loop in this topic is personal. A mother loses her child. Two stars search for it forever, and in that eternal search we see the human response to unexplained loss. For much of the 20th century, Western science dismissed Indigenous stories as myth or allegory. But in recent decades, researchers like Dr. Dwayne Hamaker have shown that these narratives can contain testable observations. Hamaker's team collected over 150 stories about meteors, comets, and craters from Aboriginal communities. They found that the Henbury fire devil narrative corresponded closely with a real impact 4,700 years ago. They noted that the Wolfe Creek story includes details, flash, dust cloud, explosion, that mirror what would happen if a bright meteor exploded overhead. In Arnhem Land, elders describe the moon being darkened when the sun woman catches the moon man, accurately representing an eclipse. These correlations aren't coincidences. They show how carefully people observed the sky and how effectively they encoded that knowledge. One astronomer likened these tales to data points in a long-term study. Anthropologists caution that not every story is literal. Some are symbolic or moral. Yet even symbolic tales can guide scientists to hypotheses. In the 1990s, geologists investigating an unexplained deposit of tektites in Victoria looked to local stories of rainstones falling from the sky and focused their search on a particular region. Sure enough, they identified signs of an ancient meteor airburst. This collaboration shows a two-way respect. Scientists gain leads, and communities gain acknowledgement of their intellectual traditions. The loop here is simple yet profound. Listen, test, learn, repeat. Stories of celestial objects falling aren't unique to Australia. Across cultures, meteors have been interpreted as omens or actions of gods. The Maya believed falling stars were fiery serpents sent by deities. The ancient Greeks told of Phaethon losing control of the sun's chariot and scarring the earth. The Norse spoke of Ragnarok, when stars would fall and the sky would split. In many Aboriginal nations, a starfall is a punishment for breaking law or disrespecting country. What's striking is the similarity of emotional response: fear, awe, and reverence. Whether one believes in rainbow serpents or gravitational physics, the sight of a flaming rock tearing through the atmosphere evokes the same gut-level reaction. A Walpiri storyteller once said that when a meteor streaked over the Tanami, everyone froze, then laughed nervously once it passed. In modern suburbs, people still gasp when they see a shooting star. These shared human experiences remind us that science and spirituality are not adversaries. They are complementary lenses through which we interpret the cosmos. A scientist may describe kinetic energy converting to thermal energy. An elder may say a sky being is angry. Both are valid within their frameworks, and both can teach us humility. By comparing global myths, we also see patterns that point to real events. Clusters of stories about darkness or fire suggest past impacts. Thus, the final loop is universal, across time and cultures. When the sky falls, people remember. We began under a starry outback sky, listening to an old stockman recall the day the sky fell. We learned how the Henbury craters sparked a story of a fire devil that still keeps people away from iron-rich waterholes. We imagined nights darkened by dust and smoke, when the sun seemed to vanish. We walked along the rim of Kandimalal, picturing the evening star crashing to earth and the rainbow snake coiling beneath the desert. We stood inside the ring of Tnorala, feeling the grief of parents searching eternally for their baby and marveling that the Milky Way can be both a mother and a memory. We watched as scientists finally began to listen to these tales, turning them into leads for research and discovering that myth can be data. And we looked beyond Australia to see how cultures worldwide react similarly when the heavens erupt. Taken together, these stories teach that oral traditions are not just entertainment, they're repositories of ecological, astronomical, and moral knowledge. They record events that shaped landscapes and climates and embed them in narratives that young and old can remember. As you wander through Australia's deserts, think of the ground beneath your feet as a diary. Every crater is a punctuation mark, every rock formation a sentence. The sky above is the cover that sometimes closes and sometimes falls open. And perhaps, just perhaps, the next time a bright light streaks overhead, someone will watch, listen, and weave it into a story that lasts for thousands of years. If you enjoyed uncovering the ancient memories of falling skies, do us a favor. Tap the like button right now and share this video with someone who loves a good yarn about science and myth. Jump into the comments and tell us, have you ever seen a meteor or felt the ground tremble? What would you have thought if you were there when the sky went dark? And make sure you subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the secrets hidden in plain sight. Your support keeps these stories alive and helps new voices hear them. Cheers for watching, and remember, the universe is full of surprises. Stay curious.